I know I usually try to stick to strength and conditioning, fitness type topics, but I'm going to break away from that for a moment, and I'm going to share something very personal, which I'm going to shoot this video and then I'll probably delete it and not post it, right? Or I'll post it and then I'll change my mind and take it down later. Who knows? What's nice about things like YouTube is that I can shoot videos ahead of time, upload them, and then schedule them to show up. So it looks like there's no break in continuity. Or I can always just take a video that I previously uploaded but didn't share it publicly and then just change it to public, and then it looks like I'm uploading things. So I've gotten quite a few messages from people. Actually, I have tons of messages from people. Most of them I haven't had time to answer or respond to. Where have I been? Right? Why haven't I been around? A few of you know me personally. I know that actually I'm a very small channel, so a lot of the people who follow me actually know me personally in real life. Being sick is a full-time job. That's the message in this video. Being sick is a full-time job. Before weirdos jump into the comments and try to make some kind of, I don't know what to call it, attack on me or whatever, claiming, oh, well, you're sick because of XYZ. No, I know exactly why I'm sick. I was hit by a drunk driver in 2013, and I've had health problems ever since. Some of it due to the amount of gadolinium that they had to give me for all the MRIs. I had a hemorrhage in my brain. Some of it due to the long-term antibiotics that I was on. Some of it due to the long-term dexamethasone and prednisone and things like that I was given. This is a consequence of, they call it iatrogenic, right? So like the medication is actually what makes you sick. And at the same time, it's one of those things where, well, you had a hemorrhage in your brain and this is very serious, so like you can die from that as well. So sometimes the intervention that saves you leaves you with permanent damage. Not that the brain injury doesn't leave you with permanent damage as well, but sometimes the medications that you were put on also leave you with permanent health issues. I mean, you can look at things like, someone gets really sick and they put them on antibiotics and that person develops C. diff. This is something that happens. Being sick, especially with a chronic illness, is a full-time job. And the best part of it is that you never know when it's going to get really bad and hit you. So you could just be going about your life and suddenly there's a flare-up for whatever reason. Could just be stress. Maybe you had a couple bad nights of sleep. It's not even like you had to do something stupid like, oh, I ate a whole bunch of, something you're allergic to. No. It could just be a couple of nights of bad sleep. Could be a couple of days of stress, and boom, you have a flare-up. In my case, I had an MRI, and I got very stressed out because they thought that there was some interesting findings on my MRI that they felt needed further investigation because they thought it might be bone cancer. So of course I got kind of stressed out over that. Good news is that it's not bone cancer. So I guess that's good. I still have to have surgery to have this removed from the bone, but it isn't cancerous, so that's positive. The thing is that that stress seemed to trigger some kind of flare-up for me. So then I spend my time being sick. And that's often what I spend most of my time doing anyways. I go see doctors easily 3 times a week, if not 4 and 5 times a week. I'm regularly getting testing done. I have 24-hour tests done. I have all kinds of wonderful fun things. Getting an MRI even it's a full day just to get an MRI because they did some kind of MRI where they took like my entire spine, which I can't move even the smallest little bit. So I was under general anesthesia, so I had to be intubated and everything. That's going to eat up a whole day. Like you gotta show up first thing in the morning, just like surgery, and they put you back in a room, and then they wheel you down and they intubate you, and you're out for that. They obviously put something in your IV before they intubate you. You're not awake when they do that, but they do all that, and then you wake up in a post-anesthesia recovery unit, and then of course, like, you're wiped out for the rest of the day. Like, you don't go under general anesthesia and then just bounce back. Same thing with like a colonoscopy, colonoscopy, endoscopy. I don't know. I've never had just one done, so they always do both at the same time, which means that they put you under using propofol, which means you're pretty much wiped out for the rest of the day, and in my case, it usually wipes me out for a couple days. I seem to be very sensitive to anesthesia. It leaves me with some kind of weird post-anesthesia hangover that lasts for a few days. And so that's where I've been. That's what I do. And actually, that's the truth of my life in general, is that I spend hours of my life every day. I can't believe it. I sit down and think to myself, wow, 6 to 8 hours of my day is lost every day just to seeing doctors and getting tests done and all that wonderful stuff. It's a full-time job. Like, it is. And I'm sure that the people out there who have chronic illnesses, the people out there who are dealing with these things, they know what I'm talking about already. And then you suffer with all these wonderful things like fatigue or migraines. Migraines are awesome. I had a migraine the other day. It was wonderful. You're sitting there and suddenly you hear some ringing in your ear and you're like, oh shit, here it comes. Next thing you know, you're seeing the migraine auras. It looks like this electrical geodesic kind of thing, and kind of just, it comes in on like the peripheral vision and then works its way to the middle. And next thing you know, you're super light sensitive, you're super sound sensitive, and you just have to go crawl into bed and sit in a dark room and do nothing. Just wait for the pain to pass, because it feels like someone, smashed you in the side of the head with a hammer, and your ears are ringing, and every single little bit of sound or light is excruciatingly painful. So you're sitting there in a dark room just waiting for it to pass. My doctor has offered me this monoclonal antibody, I think it's called like a CGRP injection, that supposedly will get rid of these things. I may go down that path, who knows. Traditional migraine medications aren't cutting it, so maybe you yourself have experienced this. Maybe you yourself have gone down that route of using an injectable medication to prevent migraines in the first place. I have no idea if it will work. That's the fun part of a lot of these things. You try things, you don't know if they're going to work. Sometimes they make things worse. And so I'm kind of like rambling here. I'm talking, and there isn't like a set message here. I don't have something to convey to you other than just explaining to you what it's like. But for the people who have chronic illnesses or chronic conditions, you guys already know exactly everything that I'm telling you. And so I'm sharing this for the people who don't. I'm sharing this so that maybe you're more understanding of people in your life who do have a chronic condition. Maybe you know someone that has a vestibular disorder or a migraine disorder. Maybe you know someone that has ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, celiac. Maybe you know someone that has rheumatoid arthritis. Maybe you know someone who has any number of chronic conditions, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, etc. And I would tell you to be very patient with them and do your best to be understanding, because no one would ever do this willingly. Like, this is something you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. No one wants to be sick. Being sick sucks. And like I said, being sick is a full-time job. It's really quite miserable. And it steals your life away from you. I think about that all the time. How much time have I lost? How much life have I lost? How many opportunities have I lost? And that's just something that people should think about. So I'm sharing this purely so that people can understand.